Welcome, I'm Lorraine Driscoll, and this is Building Better Brains, where each week we explore the root causes of why your child might be having a hard time learning, reading, or behaving, and what you can do about it naturally. At about this point in the summer, I have moms whose patience is wearing thin, especially if they are taking a break from ADHD medication like Ritalin or Concerta. And parents feel more comfortable doing this during the summer holidays or summer months because they know that any problems that might arise, like, their child might be more hyperactive or more impulsive, that these problems are not going to affect their child's ability to learn and perform well in school. So they feel like it's a good time to kind of give that a break. And the main reason parents choose to do a medication vacation are concerns about the side effects of the medication, or they are wondering if it's even necessary, particularly during those summer months. So last week, a mom contacted me because she had taken her child off medication, as she does every summer. Her reasoning was that when her child is on medication for ADHD, her son has no appetite. He doesn't eat breakfast, he doesn't eat lunch, and often will only eat a small amount of food for dinner when taking the medication during the school year. And as a result, her son is underweight and has delayed growth. He's behind his peers both in height and just kind of filling out. Sound familiar? That's because this is the most common side effect and concern that moms express about medication for their child's ADHD. Actually, an article by ADD magazine reported that 64% of children experienced appetite suppression from the medication, and other common side effects are things like insomnia, stomach aches, sudden onset of tics, as well as irritability and defiance, known as rebound, which occurs sometimes later in the afternoon as the medication wears off. The good news is that 59% of parents said going off the medication during the summer months was a success. If your child is on medication for focus in order to better learn, then your child is less likely to have a worsening in behavior during the summer months. If you've discussed a medication vacation with your child's physician and you've decided this is worth a try, then try these tips to make the transition and the period without medication run more smoothly. And I have parents who want to just get their kids off medication, and these are also some of the strategies we use. So the first tip is always food for focus. So in all the years I have been working with children with behavior challenges and learning disorders, good nutrition almost always reaps huge changes way beyond what parents expected. Start by ditching sugar as much as possible and replacing it with small amounts of honey, maple syrup, or even stevia. Nothing triggers more temper tantrums, moodiness, hyperactivity, impulsiveness like sugar, because it causes blood sugar fluctuations, which causes big problems for brain biochemistry, and on top of that, further feeding the bad bacteria in the gut. So yes, your child might be a sugar addict, and this is only a further indication that they may have bad gut bacteria and candida or yeast. And that could be hijacking their taste buds and possibly yours. So in my sugar intervention program, I walk moms through the process of how to reduce and eventually eliminate their child's sugar intake without ruining their social life. So that's a big factor. You don't want your child to feel totally left out, right? So don't just focus on elimination. Increase protein and fat. And most of the time when I ask parents what their breakfast or what their child eats at breakfast, they tell me something like cereal, toast, Pop-Tarts. Everyone, and especially kids with ADHD, they need protein and healthy fats to stabilize those blood sugar levels, particularly in the morning. So protein coupled with fat at every snack and meal can make a world of difference. So think nuts, seeds, meats, eggs, lentils, beans, hummus, along with fats like butter, coconut oil, and so forth. Olive oil, avocado oil. So while we're on the topic of nutrition, you cannot avoid talking about healing the gut. An unhealthy gut has been found to be at the heart of many childhood disorders, which is why food can have such an impact on behavior and learning. 85% of your neurotransmitters are manufactured by the bacteria in your gut, as I've mentioned before, and this includes neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which play a huge role with ADHD. So this is why when I do my 6-month programs with moms to help their children learn and focus better, the first place that I start is with gut healing. The gut lining has 100 billion neurons. So take care of your child's second brain by ensuring they are getting a probiotic every day to start. More importantly, consider addressing the overgrowth of bad bacteria and candida in the gut with antimicrobials like grapefruit seed extract, oregano or oil of oregano, biocidin. I do advise consulting with a natural health practitioner who specializes in gut healing for this. It's not always something you want to tackle on your own. It can be a bit confusing and you might not get the results you want. Sometimes for various reasons that I won't go into, food is not enough. And this is where addressing nutritional deficiencies and genetic predispositions is really important. Just briefly, a few months ago, I did a zinc test for a 9-year-old client. After learning he was deficient, mom started him on therapeutic doses of zinc, and within weeks his insomnia was gone and his focus better. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not one to jump onto the, this supplement or this one supplement fixes everything bandwagon. I'm not a fan of that because, to be honest, these proclaimed magic bullet solutions, even if they're natural solutions, tend to drive me a little bit crazy, even if they are natural, because normally it's not just one thing that's going to fix the problem. However, mom ran out of zinc and wasn't too worried until a few weeks later, her child's insomnia and poor focus started up again. So needless to say, after troubleshooting, mom now always has a surplus of zinc in the house because she has found it has that much of an impact on her son's behavior. So rarely do I see one vitamin or mineral make that dramatic of a change, but I think that story just shows how much we underestimate how much a deficiency can impact brain function and behavior. So countless times studies have found that children with ADHD often do test low for nutrients like zinc, omega-3s, B6, magnesium. In fact, in several studies, addressing these nutrient deficiencies in children resulted in them no longer needing their medication. So it's not always a case of children having a poor diet. I want to be clear on that. Often, I won't lie, that has to be addressed. Sometimes not. Certain children just sometimes have a genetic predisposition where they require higher levels of certain nutrients because they metabolize them so quickly, or just because of genetic mutations. So this is why 3 children in the same family can all be eating the same diet and only one might have deficiencies that are impacting their brain function. This is also the case with food sensitivities and allergies, which is my next area that I want to address. So I can't tell you how many times I have a mom telling me how surprised she is that her child's behavior or their learning has improved astronomically from removing certain foods like dairy, like gluten, and other, common triggers. This does not mean that every child with ADHD needs to remove these foods, but they are common triggers or sensitivities, especially whenever there's issues with the gut being permeable, meaning basically like little holes in the gut lining. So when the gut is unhealthy and inflamed. And these foods are often inflammatory to the gut and therefore for the brain. So going on an elimination diet and then adding these foods back in one at a time can be very telling in how it is influencing your child's behavior. And it never ceases to amuse me how the real proof in the pudding is when these kids do an elimination diet and their behavior improves, but mom, and sometimes especially dad, are only truly convinced of how much these foods can negatively impact their children or their child when their child goes to like a birthday party or some kind of outing and they overdose on all sorts of foods like cake and pizza and popsicles and ice cream. And they're overdosing on those foods that were triggering them, that we've eliminated. And suddenly parents are reminded of just how difficult their child's behavior was before making the diet changes. So by now you might be wondering, is diet all that you can do? And that brings me to exercise or movement therapy. In recent years, a plethora of studies have found how much regular exercise among children not only reduces or improves symptoms of ADHD, but actually resulted in less children being diagnosed with ADHD. So children need to be sitting less and moving more. For sure during the school year, they're sitting too much, but even in the summertime nowadays, they're sitting too much. So make sure your child has plenty of structured activity, as I mentioned in previous videos, to burn their energy. And that also also naturally increases their good, those neurotransmitters that medication sometimes produces. So sometimes exercise is not enough. If you've read previous blog posts on why children with ADHD can have poor neural circuitry, which is found to be one of the underlying causes or factors in ADHD, you'll know the reason for this is often related to poor gut health as well as underdevelopment in the lower brain levels, or something called retained primitive reflexes. And basically, in a nutshell, movement develops your child's brain, and when they are an infant, or when they skip or move too quickly through milestones like creeping or crawling, then they might have faulty neural circuitry, and that movement is necessary to continue to maintain those circuits. So the good news is that new connections can be made and strengthened, so the lower brain levels can be, more fully developed. Movement therapy is immensely helpful for this and will result not only in improvements throughout the summer, but lasting changes that can help improve their learning and focus in general throughout the year. Another often overlooked factor, even among natural health practitioners, is reducing their chemical load at home. So children with both ASD and ADHD and everything in between have been found to have significantly higher levels of toxins and chemicals in their body whenever they do blood tests and tissue tests and so forth. And many of these chemicals come from household cleaners and bath products. So making the effort to use as many natural cleaning and bathroom products is the first place to start, and I guarantee you can do it cheaper than what you would be buying for the chemical version. So keep in mind that you can't determine if your family is using too many chemicals based on the fact that some of your children, are not affected or do not have ADHD symptoms. Children with ADHD and ASD are known to have the autism gene, known as the MTHFR gene. This gene is not really an autism gene, but a gene that, when mutated, affects countless biochemical pathways and reactions, particularly for detoxification. So your other children may not be affected because they might not carry this gene. So while this last point is at the end of my list of suggestions in improving behavior naturally, it can sometimes be the first suggestion I make when working with parents until we address the root cause, especially if mom's at her wit's end, if the child is having a really hard time functioning and mom does not want to either put their child on medication at all, or she wants to continue at that medication vacation. And it can be a great natural Band-Aid, and it's what I call natural Ritalin. So supplements like L-theanine, GABA, Spectrum Solutions Focus Factor. There's another one called Brainstorm, several clients have had great success with. Can support and improve focus, attention, and emotional regulation, improve sleep by having similar effects on the brain as pharmaceutical medication. So I don't usually find this works as a standalone, meaning if you just give your child GABA, it's probably not going to do much if they're eating tons of sugary food laden with food coloring and all kinds of other stuff. And they have gut ecology issues and then are spending all day on their screen, on a screen. But I would recommend that you consult a natural health practitioner who specializes in naturally addressing ADHD to make sure these supplements are right for your child and so forth. Often when moms try these methods, both in the summer or during the school year, they are astounded by the results. And more than once, moms have called me during the school year to tell me, the school, or even during the summer, the babysitter, will comment or say, what is going on, the medication that you have your child on now, or the dose is just working phenomenal, keep it up. And, there are many factors that contribute to ADHD, and addressing the root causes can sometimes extend far beyond a medication vacation. So sometimes it can be better and even get your child off medication permanently, which is really what I think most people would prefer. So please keep in mind, as always, to consult your child's healthcare provider, their family doctor, about the suggestions listed above before making any changes to their medication. If you're interested in getting more support with addressing the root cause for poor focus, poor behavior, difficulties with learning and reading, then contact me either via phone or email or Facebook to learn more about my 6-month program, The Full Potential Clinic. To learn more about how you can help your child move beyond their limitations and soar to their full potential, contact me for a free 20-minute Better Brain breakthrough session where I'll give you my top 3 tips of what you can do to get your child on the right track starting today. So stay tuned for my next episode next week, where we're going to learn about chlorine and how that could be triggering some not so great behavior. For now, hop onto my website and take my free quiz to learn exactly why your child may be struggling and what you can do to help them and behave better. Thanks for watching.